Hello, welcome to the second module of the course Immigration Counselling and Management. And it is very important for us to quickly look at the do's and don'ts as it pertains to immigration counseling and professional practices before we move further. And that is why we'll be looking at that in this module. And as a matter of fact, we will look at professional conduct and boundaries in immigration counseling, the do's in client engagement, documentation and advisory services. We also look at the common mistakes and unethical practices to avoid, misrepresentation, fraud, and document falsification risk. We also look at the managing client expectation and emotional pressures. We look at the confidentiality and data protection principles. And lastly, we look at maintaining credibility and professionalism in practice. Now, let's look at the professional conduct and boundaries. When we talk about professional conduct, these are actually the ethical and behavioral standards which guides all interaction, and it actually involves honesty and integrity. And when we talk about this is actually truthful and transparent communication between parties. And also, another professional conduct is respect, that is, valuing clients' diversity, irrespective of the culture, background, race, or whatsoever, valuing clients' diversity. And lastly, is legal compliance under professional conduct. And when we talk about legal compliance, it's actually adhering to all relevant laws and policies. We also have professional boundaries aside professional conduct. And when we talk about professional boundaries, these are actually the limits defining the counselor's client relationship. This is actually the limit in between the client counselor relationship. It defines counselor client relationship. And this includes the role clarity, that is, we advise as a counselor, we do not decide or guarantee outcome. So it's just about, firstly, advice. And it's not that it is guaranteed that the outcome is actually guaranteed with, like, the advice is not does not determine or does not decide or guarantee the outcome. Another thing is the emotional boundary, and this is actually empathy and not investment. And another is financial boundary, and this is setting a clear, transparent, free agreement. And lastly is the personal boundary, and this is maintaining objectivity and avoiding personal relationship. We have the do's of client engagement, and building a trust and professional relationship entails one, active listening and empathy. And when we talk about active listening and empathy, it is truly hearing clients' concern and validating their feelings. We also have the do of clear communication. That is, you have to use simple, jargon free languages and provide timely updates to the client. Also, in engaging with a client, you need professionalism and respect, and this is treating all clients with dignity, regardless of their backgrounds. And also, you need to be transparent and honest, just like we've said. You need to be clear about your role, your limitations, and also potential challenges. Never guarantee visa approval. That's very, very important. So, and the last one is encouraging participation rather. And this actually deals with guiding clients to be able to take an active role in their application. Not just that you'll be doing and doing everything, but you will be able to guide in and also encourage them to participate in the application process. Yes, and the do's of documentation handling, it is very important to also look at this. Accuracy, security, and organization are key when we talk about handling of documents. And it is important to organize and review. That is, you use checklists, where you'll be able to verify all documents for accuracy, completeness, and also authenticity. Also, you ensure secure storage, that is, the protection of sensitive documents like passport, finances, and the use of encrypted digital files and locked cabinets in ensuring that their data are being protected. And also, timely submission is very important. That is, adhering to all deadlines to avoid delay or refusal. And the last one is detailed record keeping. That is, the maintaining of clear records of all documents submitted and client correspondence is very, very important in terms of the documentation and the handling of documents of clients. We have the dues also of advisory services. And for this, we talk about providing experts and tailored guidance. And when we talk about this, um, you need to stay informed and base advice on current verified information from official government sources. You need to also tailor your advice. You match it with recommendations to the client's unique profile, the goal, and also financial capacity. You also need to document your advice. It is very important to provide a summary of recommendations, including risk and timelines, and also to educate on responsibilities in emphasizing the client's duty to be honest and thorough. We have the don'ts, which are actually the common mistakes to avoid. They are pitfalls that can derail an application, and these include um, providing inaccurate or misleading information is a pitfall. Also, failing to manage client expectation, timeline, or success rate is actually a pitfall. It's very, very uh, important to avoid that. You need to also avoid neglecting confidential and data security. You also need to be careful with incomplete or poor documentation handling, and also ignoring of professional boundaries is very, very um, um, is a very, very costly mistake that you can make. And also, you have to be very careful in failing to stay updated on policy changes, because things changes day by day, and you need to actually get yourself continuously in the learning process. And lastly, having a conflict of interest, you need to avoid that. As per the unethical practices, things that you never accept, that are never acceptable, they are the don'ts. And we talk about misrepresentation. And this is actually exaggerating qualification or concealing information. And also another thing is document falsification. You need to be careful of that. They're like altering of or fabricating certificates, letters, or records. Another thing is fraudulent applications, that is using fake sponsorship, or forged documents. And lastly is overpromising or guarantees, promising visa approval, which is impossible. You need to be very careful about that. It is not ethically okay. And these are not just mistakes, they are often criminal offenses that you may have to pay for. Now, let's look at the grave risk of fraud and falsification. These are the consequences for both clients and counselors. And when we talk about clients, if there is any form of fraud or falsification, a client will be denied visa, or this can lead to visa refusal or cancellation. Long-term entry ban can also be the consequence. Another consequence is deportation. Another is criminal charges and permanent ineligibility. Also, for the counselor, there might be loss of accreditation or license. Yeah, another is legal penalties, fines, or imprisonment, irreparable reputational damages, civil lawsuit, and lastly is a complete loss of trust. And in practicing, you need to implement strict verification procedure and refuse any engagement with fraudulent activities. In managing client expectations and emotions, a counselor as a guide is actually a guide and not a guarantor. So you need to set realistic goals. You also need to educate on processes in terms of demystifying timelines, potential delays, and also reason for refusal. Also, you need to provide empathetic support in terms of practicing active listening, validating their feeling, and also offering practical guidance and alternative pathways. Also, you need to deal with rejections. Also, you need to deal with rejection, explain the reason clearly, discuss options, and also encourage resilience. And lastly, you maintain boundaries, support without becoming emotionally over involved. We have the pillar of practice, which is confidentiality. And when we talk about confidentiality, this is actually the obligation to keep all clients' information private and only share it with the client's explicit consent or when legally required. And why it is critical is that it builds and preserves trust. It also protects clients from identity theft and also fraud. It also upholds professional ethics. As per another pillar of practice, which is data protection principle, this how to protect clients' data. You need to be lawful and transparent. Um, that is, explain why you are collecting data and how it will be used. Also, purpose limitation. That is only use data for its intended purpose, which is the application. Also, you can protect clients' data by verifying all information for correctness. Also, it can be protected through secure storage, that is the use of encryption system and restricted access. And lastly is accountability. It can be protected through accountability, that is maintaining record of consent and data handling. And practical step includes obtaining written consent, avoiding discussing case in public, and use of secure communication channel. And now, in maintaining professional credibility, credibility is actually trust plus competence plus integrity. And how you can build and keep it is through competence, ethical practice that is always acting with honesty, integrity, and transparency. Also, reliability is very, very important to build a credibility, that is meeting deadlines, submitting accurate applications, and be accountable for your work. And another is professional communication, which is being clear, respectful, and also transparent with all parties. And another is professional conduct, that is maintaining a professional appearance and demeanor. Maintaining practice standard, and this deals with consistency and quality assurance. And in doing this, you need to adhere to regulations, implement the use of standard operation procedure for client intake documentation, and also follow-ups to ensure consistency. And as per the quality assurance, there should be a regular review of your processes and outcome to be able to identify areas for improvement. And lastly, you need to stay accountable. That is, you participate in professional associations or peer reviews. Following this standard protects you, your clients, and also and the integrity of your entire profession. In conclusion, professionalism and ethics are the non-negotiable foundation of immigration counseling, and the do's are you listen, have actively, communicate clearly, and also verify documents and provide tailored, accurate advice. The don'ts are that you avoid misappropriation, fraud, overpromising, and also poor documentation. And in terms of fraud and falsification, it actually carries severe legal professional risk for everyone involved. Then managing expectations with empathy and realism builds trust and reduced conflict. We've also seen that confidentiality and data protection are legal and ethical obligations. And lastly, we've seen that professional credibility is earned through competence, integrity, and reliability. You need to remember this. Our role, or your role as um, as a counselor, is to guide, not to guarantee. Ethical practice is the only pathway to a sustainable and respected career. Thank you.